back in the old days, I was a raging alcoholic and a raging drug addict, and I was trying to kill myself like James Dean. And during that time is when I engaged in those kinds of illicit activities. And there was a gas station between us and Safeway. We'd walk to Safeway. We'd literally say, "Give us all your fruits that have expired today." We walk back with these carts of fruits. We'd go blend them up into smoothies and walk up and down the gas line selling smoothies. In the same way that a fish doesn't recognize water, I didn't recognize the kind of life I grew up in until I got older and pulled away from it. And it was really crazy. It was violent. It was reckless. I had all of these crazy tics. We'll call them tics. We'll call them twitches. I published the book, and I didn't know what to do once I had it published. And somebody said, start a podcast, grow an audience. And I was thinking in terms of making the book sell thousands and thousands of copies and becoming a men's coach or something.
Welcome back to the Hustle and Grind podcast, the show where we dig into why real entrepreneurs trade comfort for conviction. This isn't about vanity metrics or overnight success. It's about the stories behind building a reputation that actually matters. I'm your host, Andrew, keynote architect, platform builder, and fellow founder in the trenches. Today, I'm sitting down with Manny Wolfe, the founder of Opus Speaker Services. Manny is a serial entrepreneur and the author of the internationally best-selling memoir, The Tao of the Unbreakable Man. His journey is a masterclass in diversification, from scaling a 7-figure construction company to now helping experts and professionals command the spotlight in both physical and virtual stages. He's a man who has lived through the full spectrum of the entrepreneurial experience, including the hard-won lessons that come from both massive success and the inevitable failures. Today, we're diving into his mission to get professionals booked and his philosophy on what it truly takes to be unbreakable in business. So, Manny, thank you so much for being on the show today. Really appreciate it. I always love it when we get a serial entrepreneur with a really awesome backstory on the show today. So I'm really looking forward to chatting today, kind of getting some of your insights and hearing about everything that you've done as an entrepreneur. So again, thanks so much for being on. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man, I'm really glad to be here, and I'm excited to get into it and share whatever I might have learned along the way and see if it actually helps anybody.
Absolutely. Hey, we can all get something from a story, right? Exactly. Right?
Yeah,
maybe a little bit, we'll get something from it. So let's start at the beginning here, because when you say serial entrepreneur, I always like to hear what the backstory is. So was entrepreneurship something you always did? Is it something that you always had in the back of your head? Was it something you had to do? What was your experience with that?
It was something I was interested in from as young as I can remember. And it was, I had I think a pretty strange kind of upbringing where everything to do with business, capitalism, entrepreneurialism was all shunned. It was all frowned upon. It was not supported at all. In fact, it was considered to be almost taboo. Like, I grew up with hippie parents, and I grew up, they were in a commune. And so it was really like this sort of the early wave of the curious idealism that we see today. I'll put it that way. Although today's, I think, has largely metastasized into something else, but that maybe is a different conversation. We can talk about that if you want to. Yeah. It was more idealistic back then, but it still was like making money, supporting the system. All of those things were not things we did. And as young as I can remember, I mean, even down to like, I wanted to do the lemonade stand. Everything I looked at was always like, I wonder if I can sell this. I wonder how I can do, And so that was kind of where my head was at the whole time. And I did do many, many regular jobs, many straight jobs, probably like 100. Like I've had a lot of jobs. And in enough cases, I clashed with management because I was always trying to fix it, always trying to do something better, something different. Now, I'm not here to tell you that as a teenager or somebody in his early 20s, I was actually succeeding at that, but I was trying. It's like my mind just looks at things that way. So yeah, even when I was, sticking it to the man and rejecting society, and then even when I was working the straight jobs, my mind was always in that, always.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting you say that, because usually in the teenagers is when you start to see when you start to see the entrepreneurship come through. I think all of us entrepreneurs have at some point tried to start. I tried to start a video production company. I'm sure you tried to start some at 16. I have another good friend of mine I helped build some companies with. Started his first, skateboard shop at 16. Something about it that we're wired differently. We understand that we're outside of the system. Like, we're different than what people expect to be, and we're going to think differently. And I think it's something that parents should look for, because you need to nurture it, right? And it's just, we think different. Yeah.
It's such a strange reality for us, because at some level there are a group of people who realize that entrepreneurs are what drive everything. They drive innovation, they drive change, they drive improvement, all of that stuff. And yet, to your point, there's so little support for us. There's so little guidance, mentorship, training, and if you do find someone who can mentor you through it, you really got to count your blessings, because that's a very rare thing. Yeah. And so, I agree with you completely. It's totally outside of the system, but it's also at the same time the thing without which it's like oxygen is outside of our bodies, but without it, we don't do anything. Yeah. It's really kind of I want to write a book on it. I really do. And I want to write it from the perspective, not of I've started 50 multi-million-dollar businesses or anything like that, but I just want to talk about the mindset, the experience of feeling like an outsider, the way that nobody understands you. Mm-hmm. And, like, for me, that part is really salient for me. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if it's just because I was a sensitive kid or what, but the whole idea, the feeling of not being understood by anyone was it really, I think I would have gone further faster if I had even one mentor, you know what I mean? Even one person who just just kind of like said, hey, let me just show you some stuff. Let me teach you about money. Let me teach you about systems, stuff like that. I just had exploding big ideas everywhere. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's very common for entrepreneurs, Absolutely. I've had at least 1,000 business ideas that then went on to be done by other people. Like I literally thought about frozen yogurt shops and smoothie shops before they ever hit the public. Yep. But I had no way to make them happen.
Yep. Mine was I was taking infrared and microwaves, going, wait, the microwave's great, but it doesn't brown anything. But the infrared's really awesome. Maybe if we combine them. Yeah, I just missed on a huge thing. Yeah.
Totally,
we think totally differently than what normies do. The way that we're, and I love what you said, because I say this before I've said it before on the show too, and in some way, shape, or form, we kind of have this destiny of changing the world for the better. Like, we do. We think completely differently than most people do. It's difficult for people outside our worlds to understand who we are. Most of us are neurodivergent, so our brains are constantly on 1.5 time, 1.5 speeds, thinking through all of these different things. We're amazing problem solvers. And I think it's something that we can show the world. If people go to work at W-2, great. Hey, as long as it works for you, awesome. But there's a small percentage of us that are not designed for that. We need to go out, like you said earlier, you go into a job and then people telling you, I have to do it this way. And you're like, no, there's a better way to do that.
Yeah, I can clearly see.
We don't tolerate that well.
We really don't, man. No. I like that you said neurodivergent, because as you know, there was a time when that was not an option you had available to you. Yeah. You were just a weirdo. Yeah. And I got to wonder, I cannot be productive without 20 different colors of pen. And I just got to wonder if that is an expression of my own neurodivergency, because I'll take notes and they have to be in different colors, or my mind will just overlook them later.
Yep. I have to always
it's got to be interesting and visually compelling. And yeah. So, and again, just to paraphrase the legendary Sir Ken Robinson, he said, when I was a kid, ADHD was not a condition you could have if you wanted it. We were just hyperactive.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's go into this entrepreneurial stretch. What was your first business?
Well, I was what you would call an independent pharmaceutical representative.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But it's a joke, but it's also not a joke.
Yes. Yeah.
Because what some people understand is if you can do that, even at a street level, you have a lot of what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You know, I was, by the way, I was not always the upstanding pillar of society that you see before you today. So back in the old days, I was a raging alcoholic and a raging drug addict, and I was trying to kill myself like James Dean. And during that time is when I engaged in those kinds of illicit activities. But, you know, I went from nothing to making $300 a day back in the late 80s. You know, and it was like, that was the first time I ever made any real money. And I started figuring out some little things like stuff that now people ask me, you know, addition, subtraction, multiplication problems. And if they're not too big, I can just solve them like that. And I think the reason for that is you had to learn to count forwards, backwards. You had to, you know, convert grams to dollars and things like that. But yeah, so that was the first one. Prior to that, I had tons of ideas, and that obviously wasn't sustainable, that particular one. It wound up pushing me to the point where I got sober, which then led me to a deep process of self-discovery and self-education. But yeah, I mean, I remember being 11 years old, and the main part of the commune lived in one part of the city, and that part of the city was really, really bad. It was just horrible. And so after having to fight and get beat up and beating other kids up for like 4 years straight, they finally kind of got it through their heads, and they let my family move to a different house in a better part of the city. And I still remember thinking, wow, I can get like candy and granola bars and stuff like that on the south side cheaper than they have it here. I can come and sell it here in front of my house. You know?
Love it.
So it was just kind of like, it was just the way, and you said it, it's just the way we see the world.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to solve problems, and you want to solve problems that people need solved. In fact, since coming into the online space, it's been very helpful for me to think of myself as basically somebody who just solves problem after problem after problem.
Yeah.
You know, and this is a total aside, but when I look at particularly Elon Musk from that perspective, I just, geez, man, talk about the problem solver. Some people will hear this and they'll have their sort of bought and paid for reactions to him. I think that whether you like him as a person or not, I think he's the greatest problem solver perhaps the world has ever seen.
And an entrepreneur and neurodivergent. So,
yeah. I know.
Profile.
I know. He's the poster child.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's what I mean when a lot of people don't understand what that is, like what that means. When absolutely. So the first one was I love independent pharmaceutical deal. I love that one. But what was the first more non-gray area business? Yeah. The first non-gray area business I had would have been just throwing parties. Okay. It was still around like getting high and getting wasted, but we, you know, just throwing parties on the weekends for friends and for people, realizing that like the profit margin on getting 100 people to pay $5 each to come and drink beer in the backyard was actually really, really good. You know? Yep. Yeah.
And so then from there, we kind of moved on to things like theme parties, and you know, just kept trying to iterate and make it better. At a certain point later in life, I came to music and I started playing music, and I really I decided I was a bass player and immediately fell in love with funk, which I think is a perfectly natural conclusion if you're a bass player. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. And so probably 2 years into being a bass player, I started a 13-piece funk band. And, you know, surrounded myself with musicians that were far better than me, which is maybe sounds cool on paper, but it comes with a lot of headaches. But anyway, so we did it. We got it up and off the ground, and we became instantly the most popular band in our area within 3 counties. Mm-hmm. And I'm just constantly thinking, how can we get this better, get this bigger? How can we make this a better experience? And so I took from the party throwing days, and I was like, let's have theme party shows. Mm-hmm. And where other people would struggle to get 50, 80, 100 people in the room, we were getting 300, 400, 500 people every time we played. And, and it was a spectacle. It was a spectacle. There's an important sort of observation in there for anybody listening to this. Some part of, especially if you're in entertainment, is you got to give the people what they want. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think that applies across the board too, right? Mm-hmm. Since coming into the online space and really kind of focusing on copywriting and learning persuasion and that kind of thing, I really see that like giving the people what they want hasn't changed at all. Like copywriting is built on that. Give them what they want, promise what they want, provide what they need. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that would be the next one. Various $1 million ideas that other people got to before I did. Like I said, like the smoothie shop thing, I literally had that clocked before anybody did it. Yeah. In fact, here, you'll like this. Yeah. I don't know if anybody listening to this is going to be old enough to remember the gas lines in 1974 or whatever it was, and Jimmy Carter was president, and we had the oil crisis. Yep. What we did was we lived about 3 blocks from a Safeway, and on the bad side of town, like I just told you about. Mm-hmm. And there was a gas station between us and Safeway. We'd walk to Safeway. We'd literally say, "Give us all your fruits that have expired today." We walk back with these carts of fruits. We'd go blend them up into smoothies and walk up and down the gas line selling smoothies.
That's great. That is entrepreneurship. It is, and just for some perspective, way back in the day, gas was rare. People running out, very expensive. People were lined up down the street for this, waiting. So you decided to manage. I love that.
You got. We had the even number, odd number license plate rationing back then. Yep. During the Carter administration, I was too young to understand how crazy it was, but looking back on it now, it's like, wow, that was nuts. Yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah, like locking gas, but so people wouldn't steal it, and it was a thing. Yeah.
So thinking about just giving the people what they want, they're sitting there in 90-degree weather in their cars, and we sold those smoothies as fast as we could make them.
Yep. Waiting hours for gas, like literally hours for gas.
Yeah, hours for gas.
They didn't have to day. Yeah. I don't think people truly get the person. I mean, being inconvenienced for 5 minutes, having to gas to wait for somebody. Right. They don't really understand what it was like in the 70s. So, talk a little bit about your book, The Tao of the Unbreakable Man.
Yeah. So I didn't, like in the same way that a fish doesn't recognize water, I didn't recognize the kind of life I grew up in until I got older and pulled away from it. And it was really crazy. It was violent. It was reckless. I had all of these crazy tics. We'll call them tics. We'll call them twitches. And only after I got much, much older did I realize that's not normal. Like, I literally, as a 10-year-old kid, I used to dart out in traffic. Mm-hmm. And I just thought it was a rush. Mm-hmm. I was... You want to know what it feels like to have all your senses fully open? Mm-hmm. Run out in traffic moving 40 miles an hour. You will figure it out fast. I'm kidding you guys. Don't run out in traffic.
Let's not do
that. But so like that, and I had to fight a lot, and I grew up around all these crazy hippies, and I would learn later that the commune was actually a cult. So all of this stuff, and processing it was a years-long thing. I mean, I suppose I'm still processing it. But what I got used to doing was just casually throwing around these shocking horror stories. And at a certain point, I met the lady that would become my wife, who's now my ex-wife. And I'm telling her these stories, and she just, she just stopped and looked at me and said, "You have to write this down." I used them to show off, right? And she just was like, she wasn't having it. She's like, you got to tell people about this.
Yeah.
And so that led to me writing that book. And the book was, as I put it, it was the unflinching truth of how I grew up, where I don't make myself the good guy or the bad guy. And I hold myself to the same standard of scrutiny as everyone who admittedly, I call people out in that book. Mm-hmm. It's not a feel good, it's not a feel good romp for sure.
Yeah. But it's, just reading a bit of the synopsis they put on Amazon when you get it. By the way, link's going to be in the show notes if you want to download the book. Reading a little bit of that, though, it sounds like a wild ride, and it was, it's interesting. I like how you tied that also into, this also made me the person I am today. This also, kind of makes you stronger when you have to go through all of that. I'm a witness of and a proponent of the what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. It really does. It gives you a unique perspective on life as well. Yeah,
I would say, unfortunately, but just by looking at most people, I'd say it gives you the opportunity to become stronger.
Yeah.
Whether you take that or not is up to you, but it certainly was like there, I guess I maybe got lucky in the sense that there was a part of me that just refused to like, for instance, just one example, and I did this across many different areas, probably owing to the bizarre sort of model of how to live life that I got shown as a kid, I struggled in relationships a lot. Mm-hmm. And the easy thing and the common and popular thing to do when you struggle in relationships a lot is cop out and blame the entire opposite sex. We've all seen this, right? Mm-hmm. Like, all women are ... all men are ... Well, obviously that's not true. Obviously. Yeah. The most cursory amount of observation will show you that that's not true. You and I are not just alike.
Yeah,
we're not, and neither of us are like Elon Musk. Mm-hmm. And Elon Musk is nothing like, I don't know, Genghis Khan, right? Mm-hmm. So it's self-evident that that's not true. But what happens is we kind of just give up, or never were shown how to dig in and learn, especially the tough emotional stuff. And so as a result, what we do is we flip the lens and we just blame everybody else in the world. And that was something I just never was able to do. I was never able to do it, and it made my life hard, I suppose. I don't know if that's the right word, but it put me through a lot of hard periods. Mm-hmm. But I do feel like now, especially like when I see colleagues, peers, and friends, grown-ass men wanting to say things that cop out like that, like, oh, the system's rigged against me, or all women are this or that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's so not true, man.
Well, that is. I have to say that, there is, for me, it's like, the system is somewhat rigged too. There's parts of the system that are rigged. Okay, great. Go figure out how it's rigged and work it. Yeah. There's an advantage here too. Understand. You don't have to agree with the game, but you can play it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You could argue that all systems are inherently, by definition, rigged, right? Because they're a set of processes designed to create an outcome. Yeah. Ergo, they're rigged. Mm-hmm. But just to kind of go down, take the tractor and turn the wheel into the farmlands. Yeah. On the one hand, I have friends of every race, by the way, who totally cop out and say that the game is rigged, and they blame it on if you grew up in Stockton like I did, you could be a white guy and feel like there was racism coming down on you from every corner. You really could. I did. I was singled out for being white for years. I was beat up for it. I was jumped for it. I was treated weird about it. So whatever. I'm not here to proselytize, but what I'm here to say is, as I got older, I saw some of my friends playing the poor me victim card, and I saw other friends who were hustling. And the friends that were hustling Stockton's very mixed. It's every ethnicity is there. The ones that were hustling came in every shape, size, and color. Just like the ones that were playing the victim card came in every shape, size, and color. And so, yeah, the game is rigged in a sense. Like, you and I will probably never be Gettys or Rothschilds or whatever. Yeah. But to let it shut you down to the point where you sort of just give up, take whatever comes your way, that's a failure of the human spirit. That's not about a rigged system. You're not in North Korea.
Truly rigged system.
Yeah. If you were, I'd understand. Like, nobody could fault you for that.
Exactly, right? So let's also talk about what you're up to now, because I think it's a really interesting space. And I want to talk specifically about the Opus Speaker Services, because great, interesting space right now, huge boom on it, talking about giving people what they want. That's it right now. Talk a little bit about that, what that is, and how you got started on it too.
Yeah. So I actually got started in a weird way from publishing the book. I published the book, and I didn't know what to do once I had it published. And somebody said, start a podcast, grow an audience. And I was thinking in terms of making the book sell thousands and thousands of copies and becoming a men's coach or something. That was the best I had from my vantage point. Mm-hmm. When I started the podcast and I released it, by the way, it was called it was called Steep Side of the Mountain, Lessons from an Unmentored Life. And I only say that to reiterate the fact that I just didn't have any mentors, man. I lacked that kind of like guidance and support. But nobody came back to me saying, wow, this content is so great, it changed my life. Everybody came back to me saying, can you teach me how to sound like you do? I got tons of people commenting on, what I then termed vocal charisma. Yeah. And so the first thing I did was say, yes, I can absolutely teach you how to sound like me. And I had experience prior to the online space in public speaking, acting, and singing. So I just put what to a singer would be a vocal basics course together. But I took all the singer nomenclature out of it, right? And I just changed the nomenclature basically. And so I started teaching people how to have more control over their voice, how to understand things like when you want to make a point, let the tone drop at the end. Things like that, just stuff that if you know it is very rudimentary, and if you don't know it, it's revolutionary. It really blows your mind. And started just hustling it, just talking about it on Facebook. And back then you could go into groups and say, hey, I'm offering free trainings to people. And you could lead gen that way. And a lot of the people that came to me were speakers. So again, with that entrepreneurial problem solving kind of way of looking at things, it's like, well, what else do speakers want? Well, if they want vocal charisma, they probably want charisma, right? They probably want to be dynamic. And so from there, I created a body language course and a storytelling course based on how I wrote the book. And now I had a whole speaker training program, body language, voice, storytelling. And so that's how I got in with speakers. And I kind of knew the world. I knew the lingo because I had done some public speaking prior. But every speaker said the same thing. I love your training. This is great. How do I get gigs? And so again, back to that, like, oh, okay, I see there's a thing here people want. What if I could figure this out? And so I went into the woodshed, so to speak, and I tried automations and shortcuts and everything. And I discovered pre-COVID, pre-AI, that you have to do it with humans. You can't do it with automations and shortcuts. And we're still at that point. It's still not, the tools that we have at our disposal are not sufficient to the good execution of filling out calls for speakers. So basically what I did was I think of it as an assembly line. What's the quickest, most efficient way I can do this process? And just started selling it. Now I did take about 3 years off after COVID, obviously. It just kind of kneecapped me. Yeah. And then I forgot all about it. So I went into the other stuff that I do, which is like lead gen, marketing, organic, client acquisition, sales, that kind of stuff. And came back to it from a fluke. just one prospect I was talking to just happened to mention that he gets most of his business through speaking.
Yep.
I go back into my Google Drive and I open it up and I'm like, there's a whole business worth of processes here, just sitting there. There's probably 3 more now that I think about it.
Yep.
So yeah, man, I relaunched it, and that happened to coincide with the disintegration of my marriage, which, you know, like, on the one hand, I don't recommend, I don't wish that on anybody. Yeah. On the other hand, I think it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah. But it did really sort of like choke off the energy with which I could approach relaunching this company. And so for many months, it was just like word of mouth and just, you know, organic marketing to get my clients. And now I'm coming back at it, you know, for the new year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Now's the best time to start.
Yeah.
To go again, right? Absolutely. Well, Manny, thank you so much for being on the show today. Really appreciate having you here. Always nice to talk with serial entrepreneurs and, you know, entrepreneurship, how it works, how we're different in that interesting niche that we have in the world. Mm-hmm. Again, changing the world and making it different and rejecting other people's reality and making it our own. I say that a lot. Yeah. I get that from Adam Savage. I love that. Yeah. I love that quote. So thank you so much for being on today. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, it's been great chatting with you, Andrew.
Awesome, man.
Thanks for tuning into the Hustle and Grind podcast, where we unpack what it really takes to build something that matters. If today's conversation hit home, do me a favor. Share it with someone who's in the trenches too. And if you're building your own brand, platform, or message and want help turning that story into serious authority, head over to theauthorityforge.com to see how we can help. Until next time, keep showing up, keep shipping, and keep chasing the work that sets you on fire. I'm Andrew, and this was the Hustle and Grind podcast.